what we can see consistently across all valuation types is when we're valuing, we look at risk and reward. And outsourcing can affect both of those things. So one of the things you would be expecting is that when you outsource, you will see a reduction in your overhead.
When we talk about outsourcing, are you talking about outsourcing to a bookkeeper down the road or offshore outsourcing?
It could be either, but essentially, if you're doing offshore outsourcing,
There's a big cost, obviously,
Yeah.
consideration when you're offshore outsourcing, approximately half compared to onshore here. So that's already a big margin there.
I mean, quite often you're offshoring because you're going to be reducing overhead significantly. Whereas if you're offshoring, if you're outsourcing, locally,
you have a staff,
you're
you have a
essentially
staffing issue,
mitigating staff risk,
yes,
staff risk, and being able to essentially bring in services as and when needed, picking them up and dropping them as necessary. Yep. Offshoring is more a long-term strategy for reduction of wages overhead over an extended period. And the effect of that is an improvement, or it ought to be, and if it's not, then you need to look at it, an improvement of your profitability, which is one of the aspects of valuation. It's risk versus reward, okay? So if your reward has improved, now we look at the risk. And that's the other aspect that we need to consider. If we were going to be outsourcing and it's offshore, the consideration I would have there is about consistency and
stability.
Stability of that workforce, because I've seen in many cases, as I said, on hundreds of accountant relationships, they had very mixed results with regard to outsourcing and doing that offshore, because it could turn into a bit of a revolving door of new staff, essentially. And, a staff member that is leaving and a new one coming in, you still have to train them up. It doesn't matter whether they're onshore or offshore. And so having that revolving door created really an admin impost, and sometimes that skilling up process took too long. And again, you're wasting
onshore. You're wasting onshore resources that could be used in other areas to train offshore. Almost, if it's not done to such a bad extent, almost you can erase the entire the cost saving because you've got someone onshore just managing that.
Yeah, your profitability doesn't improve because if you have that revolving door issue, then it's just creating problems. And so I've seen that happen in many cases, but the ones that are done well, and they can retain staff over a longer period of time, the cost savings can be very real, and it frees up your onshore staff to do things that they've been too busy doing compliance work and things. So now they can all of a sudden maybe provide more value-add advisory services that really help the clients.
So the partners can concentrate on the high end, make more dollars per hour.
Well, look, the partners ought to have been doing that in the first place, but it's the next couple of few levels that really, they might have been managing the workflow. Your managers, senior managers, or associates, whatever they want to call them. They've been managing that process and managing staff in-house to watch eagle-eyed to make sure everything gets done properly. And those are the ones that I think will see a lot of their time freed up to then devote to other value-add services.
So you're looking for an outsourcer that's actually managing their staff. You should have full-time staff so that particular job is not needed.
Well, there's continuity. There's continuity in process and relationship with the onshore staff in the practice to be able to, make decisions without always having to be trained or be told or have constant supervision. And we try very hard at Felcorp to do that. And we have been in the past as well, been mired by not revolving door, but staffing issues like most practices in Australia anyway. And we've tried to solidify everything that we have to be able to keep our staff there. But as a result, we've seen a big increase in a relationship with our accountants. In fact, we have a really good trust with them, and it's a hard thing to really get.
That's why we encourage them to talk directly to our accounting firms.
It's a cultural piece. It's the cultural piece. Just talking to our staff and the staff being a part of the firm rather than an offshoot or outsourced just gives the staff an understanding of that they're actually a part of something. And it's a hard line to balance, and there is cultural issues, but but we take your point. We commonly see other offshore providers with revolving doors, and they get burnt. And it's a very, very hard. We know it works, offshore outsourcing, but then to come make that actually work for them after they've been burned is a very hard sale. And
absolutely, and it's, I guess it's an airy-fairy term, but it's a holistic approach. In which case, like, you should treat it as a part of your firm, not, oh, look, I'm going to just outsource this problem and then someone else is going to deal with it. No. What you're doing is you're getting a new staff member.
That's correct, yeah.
And your new staff member is just not in your office. And that is a tricky thing to get your head around. I mean, we're lucky in my firm, or firms, is that we are spread across Australia. And in fact, my 2IC has been stuck in China for 3 months. And it doesn't matter. Because
you got the processes.
She's 2 hours different in time zone.
And you've got the processes there that you can be able to talk, talk, meetings, sales, all those things.
It shouldn't matter where you're sitting. As long as, I mean, with the advent of the internet and, which has been around a little while now,
yes.
The interwebs, it's been around for a while now. So you should be able to harness the tools that are available to you to essentially create a seamless experience for the client.
So short answer, if it's run properly, it's a great benefit.
It's going to be an increase to your valuation.
But it has to be a part of everything. It's and communication is key across the entire team. So, it shouldn't matter where people are seated. That's what it comes down to.